In this lesson today, we're going to review another part of story element, which is plot. So we're going to look first at this PDF here. So we have the plot. So if you remember, we've done this work before on the plot, and the plot is a series of events that takes place in a story. Okay, not just one event, but a series of them. And then they need to be in the correct order that they happen in the story. All right. The plot has different parts. Okay, so remember, we look at our plot map. The beginning is the exposition, then we have the rising action, our climax, our falling action, and our denouement or resolution at the end. So let's review really quick what each of these is. The exposition is the beginning of the story where they give us information about our characters and the setting. Then we go into our rising action. This is a series of events, and even the conflict shows up in the story that lead to the climax. These events build suspense and get you interested in the story. You may need to make sure you talk about them in the correct order as they go up to the climax. That climax is the most exciting event of the story, and most of the time you classify as a turning point, all right? Either a mental turning point or an action alone. But this is the place where we solve our problem or our main conflict in the story. And then it kind of goes downhill after that point, where you have the falling action. It's usually just one event, sometimes two, where they're sort of wrapping up the storyline. And our resolution, we know it as the denouement, is the conclusion that ties the whole story and ends the whole story. So what happens at the very end? So, of course, the climax is the most exciting part of our story. So when we look at the events in the plot, we need to think of some of these techniques that authors use. One is suspense. Those are the events that they include in there that build excitement into the story and build tension to the tone or the mood. Authors often use flashbacks in the plot, where they interrupt the normal sequence to tell about something that happened in the past. Okay, those are flashbacks, right? Those are not the events that are occurring at that same time period. A lot of times they like to put in a surprise ending, right? A conclusion that you as the reader don't expect to happen. And foreshadowing. Foreshadowing is a big one. Remember, when we foreshadow, the author or you as the writer, okay, will give you hints and clues about what's going to happen next. So if you think about it as these pictures down here, okay, you have a person on the beach, you have a swimmer over here, it looks like he's scuba diving, and then you have a shark. If you, the author, or in a movie, you start hearing sounds like da-dum, 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 dun, 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 dun. Those are the sounds from like the movie Jaws. That means something, the shark is about to attack. Something bad is going to happen. They're deep, gloomy sounds. Those are all part of foreshadowing in the plot that the author uses to tell you about what's going to happen next. So pay attention to those as you're reading. So what you're going to do is you're going to give me in a text entry below. Since we're working on The Wizard of Oz, I want you to describe the events of the plot, okay, as a series of events. You're going to describe what has happened so far. Right? You're going to include the important events of the exposition and rising action that we've seen so far. Don't give me the little bitty things like they saw a yellow brick road, or he stepped on an ant or a bug. Don't give me the little things. Tell me the big events that have happened in our plot in a series of actions, in a series of events, so that you go from the beginning to where we are now. You can write this as a short paragraph or as a list of events. Just make sure it's in the correct order and only give me the big items, not the little details.